Questions arising: how far away would you need to be to survive a nuclear blast, according to Science Alert? It's been nearly 80 years since two nuclear bombs were detonated over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, causing devastation and long term health effects. To date, those are the only instances of a nuclear blast being used for warfare, but the reality is there are roughly 12,700 warheads remaining in the world today. So, what would happen if one of those blasts took place? Don't panic, this is just hypothetical. But a team from ASAP Science breaks down the science of this to predict how likely you'd be to survive. Let's just say, in case of such a thing happening, you would want to be wearing white. First, let's get this out of the way. You'd want to be wearing white. There is no clear-cut way to estimate the impact of a single nuclear blast because it depends on many factors, including the weather on the day it's dropped, the time of day it's detonated, the geographical layout of where it hits, and whether it explodes on the ground or in the air. But generally speaking, there are some predictable stages of a nuclear blast that can affect the likelihood of your survival. And you can explore a chilling interactive to find out how a nuclear blast would spread through the area where you live as well. And there's a video here that explains approximately 35% of the energy of the nuclear blast is released in the form of thermal radiation. Since thermal radiation travels at approximately the speed of light, the first thing that will hit you is a flash of blinding light and heat, and the light itself is enough to cause something called flash blindness, a usually temporary form of vision loss that can last a few minutes. The ASAP Science video considers a 1 megaton bomb, which is 80 times larger than that over Hiroshima, smaller though than many other modern nuclear weapons. For a bomb that size, people up to 13 miles away, or 21 kilometers, would experience flash blindness on a clear day, and people up to 53 miles away, or 85 kilometers, would be temporarily blinded on a clear night. Heat is an issue for those closest to the blast. Mild first-degree burns can occur 6.8 miles away, or 11 kilometers, and third-degree burns, that kind destroys the blister skin tissue, could affect anyone up to 5 miles away, or 8 kilometers. Third-degree burns that cover more than 24% of the body would likely be fatal if people don't receive medical care right away. Those distances are variable depending not just on the weather, but also on what you're wearing, believe it or not. White clothes can reflect some of the energy of the blast, while darker clothes will absorb it. And that's unlikely to make much difference for those unfortunate enough to be at the center of this area. The temperatures near the site of the bomb blast during Hiroshima explosion were about 300,000 degrees Celsius, or 540,000 degrees Fahrenheit, which is roughly 300 times hotter than the temperature bodies are cremated at. So humans were almost instantly reduced to the most basic elements like carbon. But for those slightly farther away from the center of the blast, there are other effects to consider aside from heat. The blast of a nuclear explosion also drives air away from the site of the explosion, creating sudden changes in air pressure that can crush objects and knock down buildings as well. Within a 3.7-mile radius, or 6 kilometers, of a 1 megaton blast waves would produce 180 metric tons of force on the walls of all two-story buildings and wind speed of 158 miles an hour, or 255 kilometers an hour. In a 1 kilometer or 0.6-mile radius, the peak pressure is 4 times that amount, and the wind speeds can reach 470 miles an hour. Technically, humans can withstand that much pressure, but most people would be falling off buildings, and of course, that would be their demise. If you somehow survived all of that, there's still the radiation poisoning to deal with, the radiation contamination from the fallout. ASAP Science touches on that in the video, but the ongoing effects of the planet are longer lasting than you might expect. For example, a simulation study published in 2019 found that a nuclear blast would plunge Earth into a nuclear winter within days due to the levels of smoke and soot released into the atmosphere. We also know that radioactive particles can travel remarkably far. A recent study found that remnants of radioactive carbon from Cold War nuclear bomb tests have been found all the way down to the Mariana Trench, the deepest point of the world's oceans. Again, all of this is hypothetical. There are international treaties in place to stop the spread and the use of these such weapons, so we hope that you never need to know any of this information for real. But to find out more of the current state of this type of weaponry in the world, including the scale, you can visit Nuclear Notebook at the Bulletin of the Atomic Sciences. This was originally published January 2017, and it's on Science Alert by Fiona MacDonald. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.